Hello to all my fellow proud Indians and welcome back to Soldiers of India. The Indian Army veteran that we're going to be interviewing today is someone very special. He is the very first Army officer that I ever spoke to. He is my mentor, my school. Everything that I know about the Indian Armed Forces is taught to me by him very patiently, and he has guided me every step of the way on this journey of Soldiers of India. I'm talking about Major Gorki Chandola. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Major Gorki. Major Gorki is such a dynamic personality, also very humble at the same time, which I think is wonderful and very rare. He was living in Dehradun with his family after he retired from the Indian Army and had a business of his own. But he hails from this very tiny village called Pori, which is close to Dehradun. And like what happens with most villages is that people grow up, get educated, and move out of the village. That's exactly what happened with Pori as well. It was sort of left abandoned. Major Gorki, along with his wife Deepti ma'am and his kids, decided to move back to the village, and they've been doing such amazing work since 2 years now. They've done so much of rehabilitation in the village. They've built so many houses for the people of the village. What Major Gorki, along with his family, is also doing is trying to build a revenue stream for the people of the village. So, what they do is conduct workshops for the people and sort of figure out what is their skill set like, what are they good at, to be able to build a steady income for them using the natural resources available in the village, which I think is absolutely amazing. So, yes, I'm extremely excited because I am going to be interviewing my mentor, and it's an extremely proud moment for me. Also, his was the very first interview that I'd put up on the page when I was doing the write up format. So, it had to be him that I would interview first on my YouTube channel as well. Let's not waste any more time and let's get straight into the interview.
Hi, Mishika, how are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
All well, all well.
Okay, sir. So, sir, I obviously know your journey as an Indian Army officer in detail, but I would love for our subscribers to also know your career as an Indian Army officer, and of course, what you're doing after you've retired from the Army, all the good work that you've been doing. So let's get started. When did you first know that you wanted to join the Indian Army? Did you have any family members that were serving? How did you zero down on this profession?
Okay, so let me just start by giving you a little background about myself. I belong to a small place called Pauri, which is in the Garhwal Hills in Uttarakhand, and हमारे यहाँ पे ना almost 75 to 80% of the households uh, there will be one boy or the other who will be joining army. So it's more like a norm from the hills to join the army, and also I was also into sports. I used to play a lot. Did mountaineering in my college days. So these outdoor activities also, sort of automatically led to the profession in the army. Other than this, I've had this. Great love for the flag, and every time we would look at the flag, we would get goosebumps, looking at the flag. uh, so majorly these two reasons, and then plus the kind of thought process one had, and and the area around everybody, every second, third household, somebody was in the army. So it's a automated motivation here in the hills.
Wow, that's amazing, sir. So, what was your family's reaction like? I know you're the oldest son, and yeah, well, it is a life-threatening job. So, how did they react to your decision to join the army?
The family was very, very supportive. As I told you, in our side of the hills, uh, most of the households will have somebody or the other going into the army. So my parents were extremely supportive and they were extremely happy. And
So, yes, sir. So there was no emotional drama, and your mother was also like all for you joining the army because usually, moms are soft-hearted and very protective.
oh, no, no, no. My mother is the other way around. When I will just go 12 years after the military service. When I moved out of the army,
Huh.
uh, she was very angry. She said, and every time we still till date, when we sit on the table, it's almost been what 9-10 years that I've moved out. But still, whenever we are sitting on the table having dinner or whatever meal we are having, and
Hmm.
if there is a news on the television about any operation happening or anything of that sort happening, she's always like, तुझे भेजा था वहाँ and तू छोड़ के यहाँ बैठा हुआ खा रहा है हमारे साथ खाना. She was
Wow.
totally the other way around.
That's amazing. So that must be some crazy patriotism that can make a mother do that and feel like that. Because I remember, I'm digressing, but I'll just share a little story. When we were younger, my parents decided to send my brother to boarding school. And we went there, we saw the school, we got the admission done, all the formalities were done, and we were just supposed to leave him and come. And my mother started crying. She's like,
Mhm.
मैं नहीं छोड़ सकती, so सब कैंसिल करके हम उसको लेके वापस आ गए.
Mm.
So that's amazing. Your mother's a very
So
strong.
there's no fear. It's a matter of pride, like I said, for people here. In
Yeah,
uh, I think most of the country it's a matter of pride. So
of course. Yes, that's amazing. So, sir, take us through your journey at the Officers Training Academy. How rigorous was the training? How easy or difficult was it for you to cope with it? And what essentially do they try to teach you as a cadet in those 10 months?
okay, so taking you through, I was trained in Dehradun for 1.5 years before I got commissioned in the army, and the training was physically rigorous. But then, I had been playing into sports and outdoor activities, a lot of it. So it was rigorous, but it was also a lot of fun. Um, what I realized was that the training is more of mental toughness than physical toughness. वो mentally, if you're, अगर आपका दिमाग में set है, so then it is easier to achieve goals. And the human body is actually capable of taking a lot. Only the mind has to realize that, it's only about till such time you have done a thing, it seems impossible, right? So once you do it, then you know that yes, you can do it. So yes, it was physically challenging and mentally,
Any fun
challenging.
stories that you remember from your training days that you can share with us?
From my training days, everything was everything was fun. But one of these courses after we got commissioned, if you so discipline is of a great concern in army, as you know. So trainings are also to inculcate a lot of discipline in you. So timing के बारे में we are very, very particular, किस time पे you report for the training, and so many other things. So plus shaving is mandatory, when you are training. So as an officer, there are certain requirements that you have to have. Uh, you have to have those kind of qualities in you, and you are trained to. Uh, your upkeep has to be of that level. So one of the courses, and it was a very physically grueling course. Uh, the shaving was mandatory, and if you did not, you used to get a punishment from the ustad, from the instructor who's training you. So the punishment, in case you had not shaved, was that you were supposed to shave against a tree
Oh my God.
or with a piece of a stone. So the instructor would ask you to pick up a piece of a stone and shave till such time, you were, or you were against the tree and shaving like that.
Okay.
So one of these days, I just skipped it, got up a little late for the training, and when I reached,
Huh.
so the instructor told me that you haven't shaved. I did not get time to shave, so you haven't shaved. You go against that tree and shave. I said okay. So I was also very scared and I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So then I went against the tree and I started shaving like this. Then he's asked me to do it with the stone, so I picked up a stone and started shaving like this. But then practically वो shape थोड़े ना हो जाएगा. So, but
Huh.
I was doing this, and I suddenly realized this is more mental than physical.
Yeah.
You actually cannot be shaving like that, but it's just that it's the thought process.
Correct.
So punishments in the military, especially during training, are also a larger training actually, because they make you more mentally tough. Because it's all about in life, it's about situations. We are getting into situations, and we are scared of situations कि जब ऐसा होगा तो पता नहीं कैसा होगा. We just we've not come out of corona, but still corona was such a huge scare all around the world.
Absolutely.
uh, but I mean, it's amazing to see how we have fought it by just imbibing ways and means to how to accept that and take our lifestyle accordingly.
Correct. So, sir, when you finally got commissioned as an officer after 10 months of rigorous training, what was that moment like? I'm sure your parents must have attended the pipping ceremony. How vivid is that memory for you?
It's crystal clear. Nobody forgets their pipping day. POP is like the biggest day till date. It was the biggest day when you pass out and you get commissioned, and suddenly from one of the college going kid who's absolutely rowdy doing whatever he's liking, and you suddenly into a responsible post. So there is a lot of responsibility. Which the army gives you, and then you learn, and then then the work starts.
Nice. So now let's go to your first posting. I know you can't share exact locations, etc. But what was it like? How different was it from your training days now that you were an officer? And how did you win the command of your Jawans?
So it's funny when we are training in the academy, and the day we pass out as an officer, you get your stars, and you're a commissioned officer. Suddenly you think that this was it. And then and when you land up in your unit, it's a totally different experience. You suddenly realize that you have learned actually nothing, and your learning is starting now. So the best part, when you enter in a regiment, it's a norm in most of the regiments. But I'm from the oldest Pulton in the Indian Army. So it's a very, very traditional unit. And the norm, our unit is to stay with the Jawans for 6 months in their lines, जो कि शुरू शुरू में ना समझ में नहीं आया कि ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है, बट धीरे धीरे करके इट इज यू रियलाइज that commanding or leadership, which we hear so often, is actually possible only when you know that what the people, or the unit, subunit, and it is also true for uh, anything anywhere else as well. It's not only army, but also for any corporate or anything. You have to, as a leader, you have to definitely know that what your the people
Subordinate.
whom you're going to command or you're going to lead, what they are going through. And army especially, the ultimate aim is to fight a war, uh, to protect your country from any kind of uh, what do you call it, any kind of external aggression. when you have to fight a war, the war is not fought by an officer or a jawan. It's the team. You are all a team, because the bullet does not understand कि ये officer है या ये जवान है, इसको लगना है या नहीं लगना है. So the bullet does not understand that. So you have to fight as a team. For
Correct.
that, you really have to know the kind of difficulties and the hardships that are faced by by the jawans also, by the officers also. So I stayed in the lines with my jawans, and then you were supposed to do role of every appointment which they do, be it langar, be it any kind of sports activity. So you were supposed to do there are various appointments, so you're supposed to do roles of all appointments and understand as to what exactly is needed to be done. Only then you could command. So that's one great thing about the army, that once you get commissioned as an officer, it also does not it keeps your head a little
Keeps you
little to
grounded.
the ground, because suddenly because suddenly you think that you have
So
achieved
right when
everything.
you get your stars and wear the officer uniform, you're sent back to live with the Jawans and live their life, understand them, and do everything that they do for the unit, so that then you can command them, which is amazing.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So you did do the commando course as well, right? Okay.
Most of us do. We're supposed to do that.
Let me share a little bit with the viewers about the commando course. So the commando course is the most rigorous mental and physical regime that a human being can go through. The Indian Army Commando Course is recognized all over the world, and there are soldiers of other countries that come to India to do this course. Now, what's tricky about this course is that you go for this course after you've served as an officer for 1 or 2 years. So you have to after living the officer life, you have to go back to being a cadet and taking orders and punishments. So, yes, sir, can you share your experience of the commando course with us, and if you have any interesting stories?
When you first reach for the course, the first day, the first thing that is done with you is your ranks are taken off, and then nobody would there's no difference. I mean, you do not take the course as a, even the instructor won't at times know that you're an officer or a jawan. You are treated the same. Okay, you have to undergo that rut. I'll tell you a very very interesting story. Okay, we were in the train going for this course to where the course was supposed to be held. So we were this 8-9 of us young officers, and you just got commissioned. It's been I think one year, 1.5 year. So we were all sitting there, and there was this very handsome looking guy sitting on so it's like a 3 AC kind of, which has 8 seats. So he had the side lower berth. So he's sitting quietly doing his own thing, reading at times. So we were, how it is when a lot of friends meet and you're young, and so he's just trying to pull his leg, this and that, and then we are talking about amongst ourselves, saying कि वैसे बातें नहीं होती कि कमांडो कोर्स बहुत सुना है, तो एक बोलता है कि यार देख लेंगे ऐसा क्या होगा, हम ऐसा कर देंगे, हम ये कर देंगे, कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है. So everybody is bragging, हमने तो ये कर दिया है, वो कर दिया, हम तो फिजिकली इतने फिट हैं, किसने बोला, लोग ऐसे कहानियां करते रहते हैं, इतना क्या मुश्किल होगा, and everybody is talking to each other. So it was almost a day and night journey, and the third day the second day in the morning we reached. The moment we got down, there was this instructor from the course. उन्होंने हमारा सामान वामान मंगा लिया. तो वहाँ पे एक ट्रक रखा था, that 3-ton, that army truck, उसमें सारा सामान रखा, and then we said हमारी गाड़ी कहाँ है, because we are officers, unit में तो थोड़ा ऐसा है ना, unit में you are pampered and after a point of time it is okay. She said हमारी गाड़ी कहाँ है. So there was a voice from behind which says कि तुम्हारी गाड़ी नहीं है, तुम लोग पैदल जाओगे. You was to start running to the. He said, dude, yeah, we were in jeans and civil dress and like that. She said, who's this guy? अचानक हमने पीछे पलट के देखा, that guy we were mocking,
वो हमारा इंस्ट्रक्टर था. We didn't realize he was our instructor. He was by chance traveling with us. Oh, bhai
Oh
sahab,
my
those 40
God.
days, I can't tell you what happened. Every time he would see us anywhere, he'd like get rolling and get jumping. And
So extra
it,
ragda for
it,
you guys in the
oh,
course.
ho, ho. Big time, Ragda, big time. But amazing, amazing training. So
But sir, what was the scariest moment of your entire service tenure, if there was? You know, when you were scared for your life, ki matlab mujhe lag raha hai ki I might not make it or something like that.
ये I'll tell you very honest, इतना ना फिल्मी नहीं होता है. वो एक्चुअली ना वो आज हम लोगों को क्या हो गया है आजकल ना, वो इतनी सारी मूवीज और इतनी सारे वो आ गए ना, तो आर्मी लाइफ इज नॉट फिल्मी एट ऑल यार. It's a very disciplined life. It's a very organized thing. You are doing your duty. There is no time to sort of, it's like people saw Top Gun and they thought ऐसा ही Air Force में होता होगा, and people are flying fighter planes and everybody is Tom Cruise, helmet, chashma, ये वो, so Ray-Ban. It does not happen like that. It's a very, very, every second is accounted for. Every second, because we also have a very due concern that everything that we have, the equipment, the vehicles, the tanks, the guns, the machine, everything that we have, we are very, very accountable for everything, because it's taxpayers' money. We also pay tax. You also pay tax. So we are not sort of enjoying, you know, driving something around and like that. So it's very less filmy, and it is very more. How do I put it?
Real. It's real.
Yeah, it's very real. So like that. So there is nothing that I would get scared of as it is, but nothing like that. I mean, I won't remember anything that I can tell you that this happened and I was very
And
scared.
I don't think
Everybody has their own
word
experiences.
scared really is a part of an army officer's dictionary anyway. I don't think so. A person that's scared can't really be an army officer, from what I've understood.
See what happens is, who gets scared is mostly uh, the wife who comes at a later stage, and the parents when they see news. So there
Of
is so
course.
much coverage these days when they see that the son or the brother or the husband or relative who is posted
Yeah.
at a place, and there is a news from that a place that some kind of uh, battle going on or something like that going on. उन लोग को definitely they get scared,
Absolutely.
thinking about that.
Yeah. At which moment did you feel like I was born to do this?
uh, I don't know. पहले तो शुरू में ऐसा ही हो गया, and when I interacted with a lot of civilians who were actually sandwiched between the situations that were happening in Jammu and Kashmir in particular at that point of time, when it was a state, now it is a union territory. But when with your deeds, or when the army is able to help a lot of people, and the people come back to you, and they feel helped, um, it's a great amount of satisfaction, that. So I think 2-3 years down my military service, there were loads and loads of instances which just kept you going, and you know, and then love from the countrymen, from fellow countrymen. When you come back, छुट्टी उट्टी ये वो आते थे, तो दोस्त आते थे मिलने. Parents used to be very elated, and everybody used to, So that was a great feeling in itself. The kind of respect you get outside is really amazing.
So, sir, why did you quit the Indian Army?
Okay, I served for precisely 12 years. The day I got commissioned was the same day that I got released from my military service. I had some medical issues. uh, because of which they were, I could not have done a lot of things that I probably wanted to do. Also, individually, there was so much more that I wanted to do, which could not have been accomplished had I stayed in the army. So there were these three, four things that got mixed up at one point of time, and that is why I decided to move out.
Okay. So basically, you had a medical condition which would have restricted the probably the operations and activities that you could do
Yeah,
because of the condition, and
post.
you didn't want to be
That's
restricted.
correct.
Correct.
That's correct.
We see that there's such a religious divide in the country. Religious issues are so prevalent, especially today. What does religion have any role to play in the Indian army? Is it like that in the Indian army as well? Tu Hindu, मैं Muslim.
So, Mishka, the thing is, आर्मी में तो मैं बाद में गया. उससे पहले भी in my school college life with my parents and whatever, uh, it depends a lot on your upbringing and the kind of society that you live in. आज की डेट में good and bad, but the media has been able to nail a lot of issues and also you know put forth a lot of issues, but there's been misuse of the media also. So जैसे आज भी, I'll tell you very honestly, I do not watch much news, etc., etc. I don't watch it, I don't read it, because I don't find it very कहीं किसी के साथ कहीं पे कुछ हो रहा है, which I do not know, which I'm just hearing. It's just a hearsay as far as this is concerned. So I'm not again challenging the authenticity of the person who's reporting, but still, uh, and so for that which has happened elsewhere with somebody, I cannot punish a particular religion person here. I cannot have a hatred or a bad feeling for
Absolutely.
him or her where I am.
Correct.
So yes, so from our household only, we've never been taught to. There's a lot of in our upbringing. We never had any. The best of friends were from all religions from day one. My father was in the government service. He had best of friends from all kinds of religions. Never ever in my life have I heard from him about a divide or about, because we have Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, and whatever religion you call it. Even in Hindus, there are like so many caste and creed. We have never differentiated. We have never. I mean, my best buddies have been from every kind of religion, caste, or whatever you call it.
Or army
And
में
army,
ऐसा कुछ
there is
होता है?
absolutely no chance. I'm so sorry. You're saying something. Sorry.
That's what I was asking, sir. कि army में है ऐसा कुछ
Yeah.
religion
No.
को
So
लेके?
army, so there is absolutely no chance. Army is totally secular. For a, you will suddenly find a very core Hindu regiment, which is so Britishers had divided these regiments into the Rajputs and etc., depending on where the people were from. But now it's absolutely, how do I put it, cosmopolitan. It's all people from all kind of religion and areas come. Uh, the commanding officer could be a staunch Hindu from in a very Muslim majority unit, or he could be a Muslim from a very Hindu majority unit. So either way, so army, I don't think, I mean, we never even talked about. See, the thing is, it is, again, as I told you earlier, there are, army follows rules and regulations, and there is a rule book by which you are supposed to do whatever you're supposed to do. Your 24 hours are accounted for. You are not feasting on taxpayers' money that, enjoying, etc., like I was mentioning earlier. So there is a timeline set. There is absolutely no time for gossip. There is no time for gossip. You are training, either you're training or you are sleeping or everything is accounted for. There is a time. So army, that's probably the best thing about army.
And this is also true, right? So if you're a Hindu officer that is leading a regiment which has majority of Muslims, you do perform all Muslim religious activities, festivals, and vice versa. That also happens, right?
Yes, so again, so one is not performing it because thinking ये मुस्लिम है या ये हिंदू है. It is just, again, it's a norm. So you are doing it, you know. So these things are actually not discussed in the army anytime. In 12 years when I served,
Hmm.
there was never ever a discussion on who's what, immaterial, absolutely immaterial.
That's amazing. So, sir, would you want your kids to join the army as well?
Oh, 100%. If they want to, 100%, they must. I would say that every kid, be a boy or a girl, should get a chance to serve in the military in one form or other. I'm not saying everybody should be going out and operating wherever, but other than operations, there is a huge every day. See, if you ask me, operations are still easier. What is more difficult is to live by the book. It's a very, very difficult thing to do. You know that yes, this has to be done. You have to get up this time. You have to follow this. That is a more difficult thing. So it just imbibes a lot of discipline in you for life. So I think 3 to 5 years should be I am a very, very firm supporter of mandatory military service for everyone. My kids, 100% for sure, they must.
Wow. Okay, sir. So now let's go to what you're currently doing. So after you retired from the Indian Army, I know you have a business of your own and you do a lot of philanthropy. You went back to Pori, which is your village, and you started rehabilitation. So take us through that journey. What made you decide to leave Dehradun, go back to your village? How did you think of doing that?
Okay, so when I moved out, I was actively involved in security business with the Indian Premier League and a few more, larger organizations. Um, After a point, say 4 5 years down the line in that business, uh, I came. I used to, since I am from Podi, I've lived all my life here, and my grandparents had lived here. तो मैं यहाँ आता रहता था गांव में अपने काफी. One of those visits, I suddenly realized that and which has happened with most of the places, villages in our area in Uttarakhand. Uh, लोगों को ना, for want of jobs and better opportunities, they have moved out. Villages are absolutely barren, खाली हो गए हैं, लोग छोड़ गए हैं, खेती वेती सब ऐसे ही पड़ी हुई है. Because उसका एक बहुत major reason ये भी है that it is not easy life है. It is very, very tough. So say in plain areas, if somebody has to make us, say, a ground, say, for example, say 10 meters by 10 meters का अगर एक ground बनाना है, तो earth mover will come. It'll, half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hour, whatever it will take, it'll just flatten it up. And here you will, if you have to do the same thing in a village, you will have to first walk to that village, and then you will have to put 10 people every day to work with their hands, digging that earth out and then flattening it. It will take you a month. So the cost of labor, the time involved, everything is,
Resources are very, very few.
resources plus the distances are so much.
Yeah.
So it's tough life here, extremely tough life. But there are some natural resources which are available, which are not available elsewhere. So there is a, what happens is, there is a direct comparison between what you are getting at place A or place B. Medical facilities, etc., etc. The government is trying at best whatever they can, but unfortunately not much has gone to the hills. Uttarakhand is, as a state, is almost 20% in the plain areas and 80% is in the hills. But 20%, the 80% of development has been mostly done in the plain areas because it was, easier to do, which is probably one way of doing it, that you strengthen one area and then move ahead and then strengthen the villages and the hill areas. So 80% of the development gone there and 20% has come up to the hills, which is not sufficing for a lot of people. So there is a huge gap, because of which people have moved. We moved. I mean, I went and joined military. I have two more brothers. My father was in the state service, so he from here he was posted to Dehradun. Uh, Plus, my younger brother lives in the US. He's a professor in the New York University. The youngest one lives in Delhi. He's got a law firm. So, you know, now everybody has ambitions. Everybody has wants to make best use of whatever they can. The opportunities are not available here. So say I had to start a security business. I would have no client here. So for that I have to move to either Mumbai or Delhi or Bangalore, larger places. So when I came back here, and it just struck me one day, there's not that it was in my mind that I was always thinking that I love my village. I've always wanted that, one day should come that I should be here. So that one day, it just, my, how do I put it? It's sort of my grandparents telling me that, we ensured that you guys get study well and move out and do better things. But see what state the village is in today. So that really struck me. And after that, I started building up the village, building up, reconstructing the houses that had come down, dilapidated absolutely. And over the time, they had seen 2, 3 earthquakes, and nobody living. You know how it happens. So that is what we started doing it. And after a point, my wife and kids, who they said that, since it is of your interest and our interest also, we should move back to the village. So that's when we moved with my wife and kids. We moved back to the village. It's been almost 2 years, 4 years that I've been working here, and 2 years that we moved here. And we are now trying to do whatever best we can. So I've sort of now taken a second retirement from the business, etc., etc., and we are trying to achieve whatever we want to do here.
That's beautiful, sir. So tell us about Back to Roots, the initiative that you started where you are building houses in the village and doing lots of other things.
So Back to Roots is it just it just got coined. One of my cousins, Bhumika, she just coined the term Back to Roots. I mean, she would like, "Bhaiya, you're going back to the roots," like that. So we just under that umbrella, we started touching upon the basic requirements that we felt that are missing from the villages. So what is happening is, there are larger towns, like Podi is a larger town, but then there are associated villages which are in 12-15 kilometers radius. For going to the village, you have to walk a kilometer. The medical facilities are available in the town, but not in the villages. So what we are doing is, as a first project, we are setting up an empowerment center uh, in the center of these 13 villages. So there are small 13 clusters, and in the center of these villages, we are coming up with an empowerment center. This empowerment center is aimed at these basic things. So we are setting up a medical facility. We are setting up a veterinary facility. So by facility, I mean not a hospital as such, but what we are trying to do is trying to get medical camps organized every month, and also take help from the government hospital, which is there in the town, for a doctor to be sent every week, once a week, so that people who have some immediate medical assistance required, or they've been wanting to come to the town, but because of their course in the village, they are not able to take out time. For them, it becomes extremely easy to go meet the doctor and then address to, so that the doctors, once the doctor sees, the doctor can then advise whether they need more medical assistance or they don't need, or whatever, like that. The third, so there's this medical thing, there's this veterinary thing. Then the third thing that we are trying to do here is, uh, we are trying to set up a skill center. And like I told you, most of the villages are abandoned, very few people living in the villages, so the resources are limited. But the natural resources are ensuring that there is a lot of fruit and vegetables, etc., happening on their own. You just have to sow, and then they happen. uh, this growth which is there of vegetables and fruits is a very, very seasonal thing. But right now it is very difficult for somebody who's living in the village to pluck the fruits, then load it on themselves and come and sell it to the market. So that is a challenge. So we are trying to set up a skill empowerment center wherein they can which also acts as a mandi for these small clusters to get their stuff there, and check on their skill sets. Like my wife right now is conducting a art and craft workshop where she's called all these kids from the villages, and she's just for a week she's engaged in training them on how the basic sketching, etc., etc. And which she has found that there are 3 4 kids who are extremely amazing in you never know, unless you do a thing you don't get to know. So she's sort of searching talent, and from this empowerment center we will try and set up a revenue stream for them. So people in the villages, somebody knows budai bunai kadai, somebody knows how to make small little artifacts and stuff like that. So this is what we are basically engaged right now.
That is absolutely wonderful, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for giving us your time and taking us through your journey as an Indian Army officer and beyond. It was a pleasure talking to you as always. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for hearing me out.
Yes, sir. Jai Hind.
And
Bye.
take care.
Jai Hind.
And keep up the good work. Bye.
Please don't leave yet. I would love to take you through Major Gorki Chandola and his family's journey back to their village Pori and all the great work that they're doing there through pictures that I will be showing you next. So stay tuned and see those and appreciate and acknowledge the good work that people around you are doing. It is always encouraging for whoever who is doing anything for the greater good. Um, not like they're doing it for the appreciation, but I always feel like we must appreciate everyone that's doing something good. And Major Gorki is doing a lot of good. So yes, stay tuned. Please see all the pictures and like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you. Jai Hind.